Hey, welcome children. This is your English teacher and hope this video finds you in the best of your spirits. Alright, shall we start? Great. So, I'll do a quick recapitulation of the earlier class, of the earlier video. Okay? We learned about the lessons we draw from a story. Okay? We read about the fables. Fables are stories with a moral or a lesson. Okay? So you have also read about choosing your styles to tell a story, and you have finally learned to write a fable of your own. You have learned about new words like fable, morale, proverb, idiom, expression, human characteristics, and so on. Okay, I did narrate you a story, a fable with a lesson in the end. The story of an ant and grasshopper. Okay, so I hope you all learned something from the story, right? Can anyone tell me what did you learn? Shall I help you? Fine. See, in the story, it was a story about two characters, an ant and a grasshopper. Okay, the grasshopper was seemingly lazy and the ant was clever, smart. Okay, because on a summer day, okay, the grasshopper thought of enjoying the weather rather than planning for the future, taking the opportunity to plan for the future, to make arrangements for the future. Whereas the ant, he did not waste a single minute. He went on storing food for the approaching winter. What happened when winter came? The grasshopper was, he was starving. He did not store for future. He was enjoying the summer weather. But the ant had ample storage of food. Okay. Then the grasshopper regretted. He could have listened to the ant and made some kind of arrangements for the winter. Had he done that, he would not be seeing this state right now, the state of starvation that he's right now. Okay, so here the story ends. The author, he expects you to learn a lesson. What did you learn? I told you this in the previous video also. Well, you should enjoy the present, okay, but at the same time you should make arrangements for the future. So this is about the main idea behind the story. Okay, now you have all read the story. I'll expect you can summarize the story in one sentence with the moral. Okay, you can also tell me about the characters in the story. Okay, who you think learned a lesson, who you think behaved the best in the story. Okay, now what do you think? Are these kind of stories effective, helpful for children like you? Okay, you know, the stories made with an intention to teach you a lesson. Are these stories effective? What do you think about them? Okay, now that you have learned about the characters in the story, that is the ant and the grasshopper, you can form a fable fact file, right? You know how to write a fact file. Yes, the characteristics, the main points of the character of a person. So imagine this ant and the grasshopper. These are two characters. Okay, so list out their facts, okay, in their character and make a fact file, okay, individually for the grasshopper and the ant. Okay, you can also make a fable fact file, okay, of this fable, okay, as a whole, or any fable. You can stress on points. You can use these points like fables are, you can start this sentence as fables are, the characters are usually the main point, the main idea behind the storytelling, behind a fable. Okay, then we can, this means we can learn from it. Okay, so you can form a fable fact file using these 4 points. Okay, you can also use this, these words to help you build the fact file. The words such as short, moral, human characteristics, lesson, or a story. Okay. Now, what kind of stories make a fable? Okay. What is that thing in a fable which differentiates it from a story? Okay. Now go through this story, the ant and the grasshopper, again and again. Okay. Take it in your mind. Now tell me, did you understand the key features of this fable? Did you recognize whether a story is a fable from your notes? Do you think a story is a good way of teaching a lesson? I can teach you a lesson in terms of, I can simply tell you, this is, this is the way to do it. You should do this, you should not do this. You should plan for your future. You should not act lazy. Okay, I can tell you simply, I can just give you instructions point by point. Does that help? Especially for children like you? Okay. Do you think it helps? Well, I don't think so. When you're saying something in the form of a story, it catches your attention. You start having fun, you start identifying with the characters. It's then when you learn a lesson. Say today, if mom tells you that don't do this, don't be late for school. If you do this, you'll be late for school. Okay, let's take a naughty boy. He's late for school every day. Okay, his mom tells him, don't do this, otherwise you'll be late for school. Okay, and he doesn't listen to it. The next day, he sees his friend getting late for school in the same way as he's getting late. So he will, learn a lesson more from that incident, more than his mom telling him something, feeding him. So it's better for you all to learn lessons through stories. That is why fables are written. Okay, for children like you, through fun and play, they learn a story. You all learn a story. Okay. So after going through the story, to check your understanding, you have to check your understanding. So we will ask you certain questions. Let's see how well you understood the story. Okay. Why did the grasshopper tease the ant? Why do you think the grasshopper had to tease the ant? The ant was doing his job, right? It's the grasshopper who was not thinking of the future. Okay. So why did he tease the ant? Okay. Next, why did the ant say summer won't last forever? What had the ant in his mind when he said this? The grasshopper was enjoying. Why did still, even in spite of the grasshopper enjoying, why did the ant say that summer won't last forever? Give an example of ant's actions to show she approves or disapproves or grasshopper. Well, this is where your imagination comes into play. Okay. When the grasshopper says that, why are you wasting your time collecting food? The ant doesn't listen to the grasshopper and he goes about his ways. Okay. That is clearly seen in the story. But there is no pronounced act of denial from the ant's end. So you can add in your own words, your own ideas as to the ant frowned at the grasshopper, the ant nodded his head. Okay, you can use your own imagination. Okay, now what made grasshopper finally understand that he should have acted differently? When do you think the grasshopper realized that he should have listened to the ant? He should not have wasted his time simply enjoying. He should have done something for this day now. Okay, here you see the word ant and grasshopper mentioned in capital letters. Why are we using capital letters here? Now this is also something to learn, because they have already become characters, the main characters, the human characters of this fable. And sometimes we when we are mentioning the characters, we use capital letters. Okay. Next, how do you think the ant felt when she saw grasshopper at the end when the winter has already arrived, and the grasshopper, he was feeling sorry for himself. Why didn't he listen to the ant and start collecting his food then? How you think the ant reacted? Did he feel pity for the grasshopper? Did he feel sorry for him? Did he think of helping him? Okay, these are few things which you can think about and add your ideas to. Okay. Now, in fables, animal characteristics that have, that are compared with humans, they are given such certain human emotions, human traits, so that they resemble a human being. So these animal characters that have human characteristics associated with each animals in fable, okay? So these are called stereotypes. So you can find there are many animals that we use, we talk about in a story that have human feature, human characteristics that behave like a human being, okay? So these are a few animals which are used, which you can also use in your story, and give them certain human characteristics to make it look human, to make it look completely like us, okay? The animals say elephant, fox, hyena, donkey, lion, wolf, snake, and the rabbit. You can use these animals to tell a tale of your own. You can use the human emotions through these animals, okay? Now, when you have read a fable and when you have gone through this animals playing the role of humans, I can ask you in this story, the ant and the grasshopper, you can write about their characters, okay? You can treat ant as a human and the grasshopper as a human, okay? You can add certain traits to these two characters and write a fact file, okay, about these two characters. Whom do you think is clever? Whom do you think is lazy? You should write about their emotions, their characters in detail. Okay, you should know how to read a character, how to give them human touch. Okay, so a fable, when we have spoken so much about a fable today, let me give you a few more um points. In a fable, normally you'll see there are issues, there are complications which gets solved, okay? These issues make a fable, okay? There is always a character, an animal, like as we said, animals are uh, there to reflect the human emotions, okay? So you will see one of the animal would learn a lesson at the end. There is one animal who's teaching the lesson to the other, and there is the other who's learning the lesson, okay? So in this story, the ant and the grasshopper, what did you learn? Like, who learned a lesson at the end? Who taught a lesson? Okay, what is the problem that gets solved? What does the author want us to learn from here? So we have discussed this so many times. Conversation which can happen between a grasshopper, between this grasshopper and the ant that we read about. Imagine a conversation, okay? At the end of the story, the grasshopper realizes his mistake, okay, and goes to the ant for help. How do you think the ant would react? Say the grasshopper asks the ant, would you help me? I realized my mistake. Would you help me? The ant pauses and thinks. If he's prone to human emotions, he will help. Okay, he will help him. If he's selfish, if the ant is selfish, he would simply, he will not care. Okay, so this is how you can build a conversation. He might say, if he is prone to human emotions, he will say, okay, fine, I will help you. Then eventually the ant starts helping the grasshopper. The grasshopper offers something to the ant, you know, in turn of, in return of the help that he asked for. Okay, had you been in the ant's place, what would your reaction be if the grasshopper would have asked you for help? Hmm? Now, in this story, the story is in the form of a dialogue taking place. Okay, any story can be in the form of a narrative, that is a character in the story who is telling the story. Okay, here there is no such character who is telling the story. Okay, so it's not a narrative, it's simply a dialogue that's happening between two characters, and the author is saying the story. Okay, now a story can also be written uh, in terms of on the through the perspective of somebody who's reading it. Okay, then it's called a simple story when the dialogue is taking place. Okay, that story happens through dialogues. Here in this case, it's more of the dialogue, the exchange of dialogue between the stories. It's not a narrative. Okay, so these are few things we learned today. And shall I give you a task? Yes. Okay, now that it's fun, I'll give you a task. Okay, write a, write a fact file for the ant and the grasshopper in the story. Okay, or write something on your own which carries a lesson, which has a lesson to deliver at the end, and write a fact file of one character in the story. Okay, so when I'll be taking your classes, I'll be asking for the tasks, and hopefully you'll be, I would get great answers from you. Okay, so till then, just enjoy